I guess I'll just get started. Today, for our second ever Cha-Cha Chats on CoinMarketCap chat, we will be discussing on-chain events. And we have two very smart analysts in the space to be talking with us today. I'm Molly Jane, a content manager at CMC, and I'm co-hosting with Lucas Outumuro of IntoTheBlock, as well as Maksim Balashevich from Santiment. So if you guys could both introduce yourselves to our audience.
Do you want to go first, Maksim?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Maksim, founder of Santiment, focused on behavior analytics for crypto assets. Grown over the years, but here to talk mostly about some interesting patterns or shown in one or two charts, what we can see in our. Yep.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Molly. My name is Lucas Outumuro. I'm a senior analyst at IntoTheBlock. I lead our research efforts into new and growing areas, such as DeFi. And well, what a better time to talk about Aave with the Aavenomics release just announced yesterday.
Yeah, Molly, you can take it over.
Sorry, my computer froze for a second. I just wanted to say that one of the special quirks of Cha-Cha Chats is that the name actually derives from cha or chai, which is tea in some languages, which we at CMC consider the universal beverage of contemplation. So as everyone's watching, as we're chatting, we're all drinking our different kinds of tea. I have iced tea because it's a cold day. I don't know what you guys are drinking. You can share your tea preferences as well as your job descriptions.
I've got chai tea for the cha-cha chai. It's great.
Yeah, cool. Actually, this is one of my favorite. And in my previous time, I lived very long time in yoga, like 7 years, and I learned how to cook it myself. But it will come nice. a little bit late in 1 hour. So not yet. It's like yeah. But yeah, chai I like it too. And then the next choice is different kind of green teas. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get started with the charts now that we're done with the chai.
Yeah. So I guess it's to me. Yeah. Molly, thank you very much for introduction. Well, you call me now. You gave me so many warm words. I'm not sure if I'm so deserve them, but I will try my best. Let me see. I will share the screen. And before I share the screen, June from June, we like talking to him about visual data storing. And of course, when you do also the charts, you want to tell the story. And the story when we analyze any crypto assets would be on many levels. One side, you will always see, okay, what is macroeconomic situation in general world, especially now after COVID time. And secondly, you will pay close attention how the cycles of Bitcoin dominance is evolving, because alts are dominated very strongly. Depends where you are. You need to understand this context. Now, this first part I will leave aside, because otherwise it will be not one chart, but like many, and it will take a long time. What we will focus only on small aspect, but I believe it's a very important aspect to understand our behavior situation right now of these key stakeholders. Yeah. So now I will share the screen. Let it take, is it okay? Visible?
Yep, now we can see it.
Yeah, so now, what we see on the screen, on Santiment, we have dozens, actually, when not hundreds of different metrics, which explain what's going on, like ranging from financial, derivative, social, developer activity, and of course, the biggest part is on-chain. Now, as I say, more than 100. I pick up only 4. I pick up only 4 of them to tell the story. The story goes like this. The green line, it's the price of Aave, of lend. Yeah, in both charts, it's Aave price. And then the first one, you see 2 metrics: exchange inflow, how much of Aave is tokens Aave is flowing into exchanges, and the second, dormant circulation. Now, what it means and why did it pick up it for the story? Both of them tell very important aspect. Long-term holders, most of them whales because they bought old or long-term back holders, ranging all the way back from 2017. Yes, that's why I took dormant circulation. 365 days. Those tokens who haven't been moved for a year. This is this line, brown line. They show activities, specific kinds of activities, and these activities coincide with exchange inflow. So what they're doing, they're selling. Yeah, they're selling, and they've been selling at some point of time a lot. Here again, quite a lot, and they done selling. And they've been done selling before this big rise happened. This pattern been seen by me personally thousands of times. It's always the same behavior. Big whales, they don't chase every single dollar. They don't chase 100x. They are fine with 5, 10 x, more than fine. So they will sell usually before the ultimate tops comes. So once you see this kind of activity, dormant circulation go to the exchange flows, it will mean there will be correction for some time, but it will also mean, okay, it's time of the correction for you as a retail, as far as a retail. If you are not yet in token, maybe have to accumulate, because the next phase, the strong growth might happen. Yeah, you remember always the same story. It might happen, there is risk. But in case of Aave, it did happen. In case of many other tokens, if you're not calling here, it did happen. So now, after we know whales are mostly out of the game, they will not pump in the market much more. They don't have so much anymore. They will likely hold it until something happens. Yeah. So now it's a game of the crowd participating in the price definition. And this is the second chart. This chart is important right now. What we see on this chart, the same green line is the price, is the orange line is the daily active headers, is how many on daily basis active holders of our participating in activity. And another chart is smaller one. It's how many new addresses or new inflow of fresh blood happening. Yeah, fresh holders, future back holders or happy holders, depends. As long the stories here goes, it's a crowd. They act differently from the whales. Whales also got their own specific one. There will be always, with growing prices, there should be growing amount of participation. So far, till this point, everything was good. And as you will see, it has been increasing even before price starts again growing. So it's always, or very often, a very nice buy signal, which we now see reflected. Aave has been pumping a lot, especially with good news coming with our tokenomics. Important parameter now to look at too. Once you see divergence or deviation is growing price, growing supposedly activity of the crowd, it starts declining. And you can see on daily active addresses, network addresses, trading volumes, we are in a danger territory. We will be in the danger territory sooner or later. And this time when it corrects, it will correct much more than what we've seen before. And this is the story for today, which combines how we came to this position, that the whales are not playing so much role anymore. Now it's a game of the crowd, many participants, and how to potentially understand what's happening. And this is story specific for Aave, because if you ask me to do coverage for other token beat, IFI, the newly born, it's a completely different story. Ethereum, completely different story. For tokens maybe similar to Aave, it could be something similar like REN or I don't know. REN falls in the similar category, or Kyber network will be similar. But for many others, will be a different story. So please don't take it blindly and apply to everything else. Yeah, I think maybe that's it for like introductory, and I've done 10 minutes, which is also a good sign. Maybe we can come to more interactive. But
nice. I do have a question. You mentioned that you do expect a correction, and of course, Aave's had an incredible run up throughout 2020. And these charts, or maybe some other indicators, as many of you may know, we also have on-chain intelligence and IntoTheBlock. I was just wondering which indicators would you be looking for, warning signs of like a potential correction starting?
Potential correction starting? Well, remember, when I'm doing analysis, I'm doing behavior analysis. So I assume the best way to see the top is coming when no one expecting it. And the best moment for correction to happen when no one expecting it. And I will be looking at metrics proving it. It could be explosive growth in some social metrics, which we don't share here, or too positive sentiment could be. Or it could be, as I mentioned here, if we're looking purely on-chain, it's a kind of show it too. Maybe not as good as social, but a kind of show it. There's lower ones chart. If we see now price going to 40 cents and extreme spike in daily indices, we might have it. If it's still level more or less similar to what we've seen before, it keep growing. It's not time for correction yet. But I personally always combine on-chain and social because with one it's like a bird with one fly, or with one wing, it cannot fly, or you will do many mistakes. And so when I'm making decisions, I will pay to both of them. But this is good enough to give you sometimes very strong indication as it doesn't look healthy anymore. It will happen very soon. Yeah. Divergence between price activity and on-chain activity. And of course, but it happened here already. When, as in the first chart, when people who are in the profit, because this whales were in a good profit. Another chart I can sell it. It's like see it like 3 times in the profit at least. So once they move holders, you see on the metric, they're in the profit and they move to exchange. There is no other outcome. Price will correct, sometimes dump, but it will correct for some time because there will be selling pressure for a few days. Depends how much the deposit, depends on the order book depths. You can assume it will take a few days or 1 week. Sometimes it takes a few weeks to absorb all the dump from whales. But at least a few days will be, but it happened already in case of Aave. Yeah. In case of IFI, hasn't happened yet. There will be a lot of interesting time. But here it happened. I wouldn't consider it to be a big danger. Yeah.
I have a question that one of the people watching sent. User 4450515. You can change your username, by the way, in the CMC user panel. But he or she asked, does this mean that they need to grow the network quickly to sustain demand for the coin? Basically, there's no more supply side.
That's a good question, and this is the right one. Yeah, to sustain price in crypto, you need to keep growing your network, because the moment you cannot do it anymore, it means attention of the crowd moves somewhere else to the next big thing, and the price will react. Latest in 2 days. Yeah, this is a very good question, actually, which has already an answer. Yeah,
definitely helps if you keep growing your network in general.
Yes. Well, you can sometimes, and we've seen attempt, you could potentially use some special techniques. Some did it, but not on the scale, where I already, and they will not do it anyway.
There's another question from the audience. I think this one can be directed more at Lucas, which is that user 3663977 asked, Aave recently announced their tokenomics or Aavenomics. What are the initial impressions? Read their governance framework and safety module.
Yeah, so the way they're handling it is first there will be a migration, from my understanding. So this is a very new topic. It got released yesterday, but I did have some time to dive into it. And they will do some migration from the Lent token to the Aave token, which will be their governance token. And through the safety module, and this is different to compounds, to the way they're handling their governance token. Through the safety module, the users will be able to stake their Aave tokens. And through that, it's essentially the safety. In case there's an attack, they call it a shortfall event, and the people that supply the liquidity to the safety module get rewarded with Lend tokens and also through BAL tokens So it's where the liquidity mining takes place through Balancer's pool. And essentially, they're rewarded for supplying liquidity and keeping the system safe. It's again different from Compound, which users are rewarded for supplying liquidity to the lending pools, whereas this one is supplying liquidity to the staking pool in Balancer. That's my understanding of it, at least. I don't know if, Maxim, you have a different way to look at it.
Honestly, I haven't checked it yet. Yeah, but your explanation makes sense, and it's a kind of in the spirit of what we've seen lately in the DeFi space. So yeah, maybe. Unfortunately, this models, it's a bit complicated, but we have some proof of concept, and it seems to be working in some cases, especially iFi economic, how they launched in 1 week. That was a complicated one. I remember it took me 1 day just to understand to participate in this mining. That was complicated. I said, oh gosh, but it worked amazingly. So sometimes complicated doesn't mean bad. And what you explained, it's not so complicated. It's okay, yeah. And thanks for explanation. It's a good summary.
It's complicated to understand it. To use it sometimes is not that complicated. And like the user experience has definitely gotten better in DeFi. So they're definitely making it easy when there's like a bunch of complex stuff happening in the back end.
Yeah. That's nice.
So one of the same users with the really long numerical username asked also, related to the DeFi trend, how, if at all, has the phenomenon of yield farming impacted the recent growth of Lend?
Well, once again, could you repeat? Oh, was it for Lucas' question anyway?
Yeah.
Okay, you can jump in.
No, so I just didn't hear.
Okay, then Lucas can go first. And
it's how the yield farming has impacted the price of Lend, right?
Yeah, the growth of Lend.
Yeah, so there's definitely anticipation for it. The Aave team has been teasing the Aavenomics upgrade, and of course there's been a speculation about yield farming, and well, they finally announced that there will be yield farming in it. And there's the expectation for more liquidity to be supplied for Aave and held within the staking pool and Balancer. Something that's interesting, I found interesting compared to other yield mining incentives, is that they will have a cool down period. They don't 100% specify the terms to that. I think it's up to the governance. But it's essentially the rewards, the staked Aave will be locked, the earned one, not the one that you receive at first. So it has less price pressure, selling pressure. And I feel like in general, the opportunity to earn Aave through these liquidity incentives has definitely led to some hype, as can be seen in the price chart.
Yeah, can be seen in the moment indeed.
I have another question from Ava Economist, which is a great username. And also I'll shout out Nick from OS, who updated his username for my convenience. So thank you for Nick for the other questions. But from Ava Economist, they asked, if you wanted exposure to the DeFi trend, would you go for Comp, Lend, Ava, Cancy, or something else, maybe Link, like we discussed last week?
Well, this is a good one. Well, I can tell what I'm doing, and then it's not an investment advice, but yeah, what I'm doing, I'm farming. First, to understand in direct user experience how it works, how it impacts me, because we are in Santiment also developing something in this direction. So I want to see, okay, how does it feel where I like feel stuck? But while doing it, I realized, oh, actually not bad. It does provide you some nice rewards too. And the thing is mostly you balance between two things. It's like stable coins, which you keep in your hands, and it's a kind of safe unless there are some hacks, and it gives you some yield. And then the second part, which you mentioned, what do we choose? Link, Lend, Compound, iFi. And you need to choose wisely, not only the token in terms of will it go up and down, but where you actually farming. In some pools, like on Uniswap, it's 50-50. So the risk is big if your token is crashing, not so pleasant. And other pools, participating in one of them on Balancer, it's 98-2 for IFI. And then the risk actually for IFI is quite limited. So, and the decisions vector you need to make, it's now more complicated than before. So it's not only about the price, which will happen to the tokens. It's only about where exactly you participate and how much liquidity you provide in percentage, because your reward depends on it. So unfortunately, I don't think there is any simple answer yet, or I haven't seen any easy to understand dashboard. Even good ones like Zapper or Zero to some degree, they give you a good overview, but it does not really help you to make decisions. I wish we could build it on Santiment, but like we're committed to so many things, so we don't really build much in that direction. And I believe at the moment where we're now, it's like for the next months to come, it's everyone has to build on his own or look for. There are some small pieces of tools, and actually we can maybe list later at the end of the chat if you would. I can provide some links which you use it, some tools here, some tool here, and you look into the numbers and you make decisions. But it's difficult. It's difficult. So
for sure, yeah, it's definitely an area we're looking at into the block as well. And I don't want to get into financial advice of choosing one token over the other. It's definitely fun and better to get an idea of a token using their protocol. So I have yield farm myself as well, just to get a better feel for these protocols. And I would consider, the one thing I would recommend is consider the incentives powering these systems. So with the Abenomics upgrade, they do show positive alignment of incentives between stakeholder with the growth of the protocol. So that's a positive sign. Would I recommend buying it? And I don't want to recommend buying it or selling it, to truth be told, but there's definitely the good incentive mechanism behind it, as well as some other projects like Synthetics and Kyber with a recent Catalyst upgrade. And well,
yeah,
Compound.
That's actually Nick from Australia asked why we didn't mention the Synthetic and the Pi DAO larger small cap basket. I hadn't heard of the second one.
Well, I think you pick up one token for one talk. That's why we're focused on ours today. And next week.
Next week there'll be more. I have another
question.
Well,
I can answer. Actually, I can answer to this question because, okay, as I said, the story. When you use the data and you make a story which explains what happened till now and what to pay attention in the future, it will be different from different tokens, especially for synthetics, because they're kind of in the same space, staking, earning, farming, like many, but they have some very specific use cases of parts in their system, or the way the tokens is used. It's locked, and it's not on-chain activity, it's just speculative activities. I personally, if you ask me about synthetics, I would have to make a different story. I would pick up different charts. That's why it's actually you cannot cover all of them or many of them at once.
Another question from Economist. Thank you for all the great questions, by the way, from everyone, who asks both of you guys, do you think that Ethereum 2 will have an impact on DeFi rewards? For example, we can get staking rewards from Ether directly in the future.
Good question. I don't know the answer. I feel like people definitely, if that's an option, like to stake your ETH and simultaneously earned liquidity mining rewards on top of it for supplying to a liquidity pool. So for instance, the Abenomics pool is 80% Aave, 20% ETH. Maybe you will be able to, and it's likely, I would say, that you would be able to also earn staking rewards for the Ether provided there. I don't know if, what do you think, Maxim?
Yeah, I think you're right, especially with now different kind of pools you can have, 80, 20, 95, anything is possible now. There is no doubt people will go massively in Ethereum staking. And going to massively Ethereum staken means 2 to 3 months before, or even 4 months before, when market realize it will happen, we will see some changes in Ethereum price. It will start pricing in, because right now it's still wild speculation. It's not really known. Will it happen January? Or you know the names, which is going about 0 to 0. So what exactly happened? No really know. So market can pump from time to time, but it's not pricing in the reality. And we will see likely a rapid price appreciation of Ethereum few months before it. And as it's already happening now, staken is being hot battled, used in so many protocols. Much more people will be more familiar, much more infrastructure or UI interface, everything will be developed. So it means that likely a lot of Ethereum will be locked for staking. And it has, of course, a good sign. Locked, when I assume locked means less circulation and more price growing. But it has a kind of some could have some side effects by the rumor sales effect. So what I want to say is that the moment it's official, or more or less, we will get in 3 to 4 months staken, it will be maybe one of the most exciting time in crypto in the last years. Yeah, we'll have a lot of responsive activity from traders, investors, repositioning themselves. Yeah. Now it's still very, very, well, even though we've seen in the Bitcoin Ethereum lately so nice moments, but it will be nothing compared to what we will see, I believe.
There's another question, again, from Ava Economist, who asks, we saw comp lose a lot of its value already. Are these DeFi pumps sustainable? It's a very timely question.
Yeah, it is. And I'll go back a bit to my comparison between the comp liquidity farming mechanism to the one, well, liquidity mining, mixed yield. The one Aave will be implementing. My understanding, and it also goes to the supply that's available, circulating supply. Compound, most of the supply is still not circulating, and it's getting emitted, rewarded to users every day. Whereas the Aave supply, when they do the 100 to 1 migration, most of it will be already circulating. So in that sense, there will be less selling pressure, but also there will be a cool down period on the earned staked Aave. I imagine they'll release more information about how specifically that cooldown period will work. But in my mind, it will be a bit like a lockdown period compared to traditional IPOs, where these tokens wouldn't be able to sell them for a while. They will be locked. I would definitely look to for more details when they do announce that.
It's good. Nothing to add.
Just coming in with another question from Nick from Australia. I really do feel like this is a 5-person chat. It's us three, Nick from Australia, and Ava Economist. Fantastic. So Nick asks, we would love to know what Santiment thinks of the alleged DeFi bubble, which you kind of just answered. And then some people refer to the huge market caps of Bitcoin Cash and XRP as illustrations that even with limited use, these projects can capture huge value.
What was the first part of the question? What Santiment is thinking about? I didn't.
The alleged DeFi bubble.
If it's legit or not, or if it's a bubble or not, yeah. That's a good question. And our community also will ask this question regularly. You know, Vitalik said about it, that DeFi rates are not sustainable, it will go down to 0. And I think he's a reasonable or like honest person says what he believes, and it's a kind of true. It's not sustainable long term. But the one thing I learned from 16, 17, 18, and 19, the rationality of crypto market is much stronger than we ever expect. So we might stay in a mode which believed to be overhyped or irrational. Wait, I think something to for longer than we think like it does not make from rational point of view any sense, it still is here. So this is my answer. If I try to answer, I will have to use rational arguments for or against it. And again, it will be against the nature of the beast we're dealing with. It's not rational. Yeah. And this is the main reason I started the project back in 16 Santiment, because it becomes clear to you in crypto. There is not much rational things going on around. Yeah, there is many projects, no valuation. It's not because good or bad reasons. It's just expectations, hopes, Dogecoin. Yeah, we all love it. What is the value there? Yeah, just because we all love it and they do cool stuff. And this is just one example. And in DeFi space, it's even stronger. The money you're earning is real and it's very fast. So you become irrational very fast. So maybe we shouldn't use too much rationality to just see when it gets to extreme. And it's not extreme yet. At extreme, we will see Bitcoin 2.0. This is an extreme. As long as we don't get it, well, maybe not extreme yet. We should get our Bitcoin to 0 or BitConnect to 0. Yeah. Sooner or later we'll get. Yeah.
I have a slightly different point of view. I don't know if you want to go into another question. I was just going to say it depends also on the time frame you look at it. With DeFi, of course, they have had a run up this year, but in the long term, I personally think they're doing very useful innovation. So I think in the long term, we might see these evaluations go up. I wouldn't say by now or later. And I would agree with what you're saying, Maxim, that data is critical here, and to understand if it's being rational, the market, or not, or if it's actually being used. And I think that's how any investor can get a better idea of whether these protocols are creating actual value or if they're just being speculated upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One another maybe last thought on it. I remember how it was in 17. The very rational voices half a year before or sometime before market peaked. There were a lot of argument. Ethereum has problems. Bitcoin has problems. Yeah. At the top, no one was arguing anymore. So there are no concerns. There are no worries. Everyone is excited. Top feels different. Or the end part. And in DeFi, to some degree, we can say it's hyped or even overhyped with all the latest innovation. We have not addressed yet the approach of doing so many innovations in a very complicated and complex way. Yeah, we had hacks not longer than 3 months ago, and money was lost. Now everyone forget about it. So what happened if we suddenly lose 100 millions in one of protocols? That will change the mood very fast. And it can happen. Like there is no guarantee it will not happen. It's
definitely a risk to consider.
Yeah. So to some degree, we don't discuss this thing like risk involved into farming and yielding. So I feel a little bit insecure. I think, okay, maybe it will happen someday soon. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are raising concerns. Oh, are we in a bubble? Are we in a hype? And when I see so many people mention it, mostly means, well, maybe we're not yet. And a bubble, real bubble hype, you don't talk about.
So I have one more audience question, and then I wanted to ask if Lucas had any IntoTheBlock data he wanted to share. So the last question just came in. It's, do you guys know when they will make the announcement about the cool down period for the new AVA?
No, my understanding is they will figure out a lot of the details through the governance portal, which they launched. No specific dates, though, to my knowledge.
All right. And then if you have any data from IntoTheBlock you want to share.
Yeah, definitely. So as many of you watching, I assume you're watching my screen now, correct?
Yeah.
IntoTheBlock, we've partnered with CoinMarketCap for about 6 months now. So for Aave, we move from the charts to on-chain analysis, and we supply this quick view overview of the token. And one thing that I have been looking at that Maxim kind of alluded to is the crowd is definitely the ones leading the recent price action. and I can tell this with the drop in large transactions, which has dropped significantly. Large transactions we define as transactions over 100,000 in value, and as we can see here, it jumped significantly in June, earlier to the rally, and then in late July, right as it was peaking, it also increased possible selling action. And recently with the Abenomics release, even though there was a high price action, like 20% and another 20% yesterday, there was little large transaction volume, which just lends me to believe and to confirm what Maksim was saying about the crowd leading the way with the recent price action.
All right, well, that's about time. We've had a lovely conversation with Nick from Australia and Ivanov, what was the username? Economist. So I wanted to thank both of you guys so much for being in our second ever Cha-Cha Chats. And I hope that you'll come back for more in the future to discuss other DeFi protocols, or maybe some crazy on-chain event will happen and we'll need to get you guys on quick to explain it to all of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure. It was nice, like a family talk. Nice. Thanks for organizing it.
Thanks for having me, Molly, and nice to meet you, Maksim.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks, Molly, for organizing. Yeah. Thanks for inviting.
Of course. Everyone have a nice day and enjoy your tea.